It is Wednesday, my dudes. That's an old meme, isn't it? Crikey. That's from like the Vine days. Whew, remember that? Anyway, I've been playing a lot of RuneScape recently. I used to play RuneScape back in 2005 when it was pretty much brand new. Yeah, and have played it on and off since then. Specifically old school RuneScape, although it wasn't called old school RuneScape back in 2005. It was just RuneScape. But I do sometimes get myself a month of RuneScape membership and dip back into old school and do a few quests, do a bit of skilling, just whatever takes my fancy. Sometimes I get the itch and I just want to play a bit of RuneScape. And so that's what I've been doing this month. And I think I had a realisation why sometimes I get the urge to play it, and I think it might be an anxiety thing. It might be a mental health thing. First of all, RuneScape is very familiar territory to me. And old school in particular, because it's what I used to play, it's what I'm used to, and so it's there's a level of comfort just in the world itself and the way it looks and the way it plays that no other MMO, current RuneScape included, can really do. Saying that, if Night Online still exists, I could probably get a kick out of that. Played that a bit back in the day. If anybody's ever heard of that, it's probably some Russian. I think it's like an Eastern European knockoff of WoW or something, but that was pretty fun. But yes, RuneScape was the one for me, and yeah, there's a familiarity to it, so it's comfortable. I'm always going to have a good time playing it, whatever I end up doing, and no matter how crap it ends up being, because there are some bits of it that are a bit crap. But the thing is, the other reason is because a lot of RuneScape is very repetitive tasks. Let's take, for example, agility training. So one of the skills that you can train in RuneScape is agility. And the higher your agility, essentially the more shortcuts you can access around the world. So things like ranges from jumping over fences to grappling across rivers and climbing up mountains. Mountings is apparently a thing. The higher your agility, the more access you have to the world easily, without having to walk around the houses and waste your precious run energy. But agility training is perhaps the most tedious thing in RuneScape, because partly because you have to be actively doing it. You can't just click it and then sort of nip off for a bit and then come back to it. You have to be at it. You have to be on the ball with it. But it's the same thing over and over and over. The recommended way to skill is doing a particular, what's called a rooftop course. So it starts by climbing a tree, and then you've got to jump over loads of different roofs, and then jump down, and then climb the tree again. And you do this loop, you do the loop, then you do the loop, then you do the loop. And there's a little counter at the top left of your screen saying how many loops you've done, and how many you've got to do to reach whatever level goal you've set. I've got mine relatively high, so I look at that counter, and when I started it said like 810 laps left to go. Now it's at something like 671. My God, it's not fun, because you've just got to click on the specific area where you jump over the thing, and then wait for your character to get in a certain point where he can move again. Click on the next bit, and then he'll run over to it, and then jump to the next roof. Sometimes he misses. Sometimes he just falls off the roof and lands head first onto the ground, and then you lose some health, and you've got to start again. But yeah, it's just agility training is not fun. And if you break it down, there's a lot of stuff in RuneScape that is not fun, but there is a certain joy to be had from the repetitiveness of it. Repetitive tasks can be engaging in their way. I'm just trying to think of other games. You know, like idle games do the same thing, mobile games, and the likes of Cookie Clicker. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's repetitive. You just click the same thing over and over, or do the same thing over and over. I mean, you could even argue that games like Theme Hospital and Roller Coaster Tycoon are the same sort of deal. You start with nothing, you build a theme park, bish bash bosh. Next one, start with nothing, you build a theme park. Next one. There's some bit more variety in that, of course, and one theme park takes a lot longer to make and is a lot more fun to do than, well, one agility course, just doing it over and over. But I do feel that there's some enjoyment to be had from the repetitiveness, even if it is a little drab. But I think there is one other thing about RuneScape, and one thing that I particularly enjoy about it is the fact that it's that very particular level of taking itself seriously, but not too seriously. The player character is a bit of a joker. I'll say he because my player character is a guy with a big beard. But every player character is the same, personality-wise, when it comes to like talking to NPCs and doing quests and stuff. Extremely rude, a little bit full of themselves, and cracking jokes all the time, but like the sort of terrible dad jokes that nobody's going to laugh at, and indeed the NPCs treat them crappy dad jokes the same way you or I would do, so they're just like, oh god, what are you on about, mate? And sometimes the role is reversed, so the player character is, somebody else will make a joke and the player character's like, no. Stuff like that, and I described it as high comedy fantasy, high fantasy comedy, comedy high fantasy, whatever variation of those words works for you. It's not like 100% comedic, because there are certain bits where it does take itself seriously. Like I've just done a quest where there's a group of freedom fighters that are trying to liberate their particular town from a group of vampires who are lording it up. They own the town and they take blood tithes and stuff. And that was a really good quest. But on a similar note, there's another quest where you have to infiltrate a bunch of penguins who are plotting world domination. And that's RuneScape. Yeah, I don't know. I think the key bit for me is the comfort that comes from playing a game of RuneScape. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. And because I only get a month at a time, I always feel the need to really maximise it, and so I've been playing it an awful lot. But, you know, I've been having a good time with it, so whatever, man. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, that's me. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Man, that really does your shoulder in after a bit. Whew.